The Oklahoma City Thunder take care of business in Utah. Why this win was a coming-of-age moment for the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll talk about that and Aaron Wiggins' breakout performance on today's Locked On Thunder podcast.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and editor-in-chief over at thunderousintentions.com, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, brought to you by FanDuel, we're going to talk about Aaron Wiggins saving basketball and the Thunder season. In this game, the Thunder took care of business and had a coming-of-age moment in this game against Utah. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more when you visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. And let's start the way we always do with our game overview. For the Thunder, they didn't have Chet Holmgren, Kenny Hustle, both those guys out for the season. Pokashevsky also is out with a knee contusion. And then the Utah Jazz played nearly nobody. Colin Sexton, out. Walker Kessler, out. Taylor Horton-Tucker, out. Rudy Gay, out. Lauri Markkanen, out. Jordan Clarkson, out. The Thunder start SGA, Josh Giddey, Lu Dort, J-Dub, and Jay Will. The Jazz start Chris Dunn, Ochai Agbaji, Luka, not Doncic, Kelly Olynyk, and Udoka Azubuike. And the Thunder going to win 114-98. This was a coming-of-age moment for this Thunder team. The second youngest team in the history of this league. The youngest team this year in the NBA. The Thunder faced a must-win game for their postseason lives, a postseason that they desperately want to get to, that they desperately want to be a part of, from what you hear in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, on SGA's Instagram story, on SGA's Instagram caption, everything that you see. This Thunder team wants to be in the play-in, wants to be in the postseason, wants to play a game past Sunday. And so this game was a must-win game against a team that rolled over for you. And that's a situation where over the last week, the Thunder have struggled in. They've struggled in this very moment. We are playing a team that has rolled over. You're playing a team that's waved the white flag. You're playing a team that has a CVS receipt injury report that you're supposed to go out there and you're supposed to dominate. And over this last week, they played Portland in that scenario, barely came out alive. They played Charlotte in that scenario, did not win. They played Detroit in that scenario, won on a miracle tip-in. They played the Pacers in that scenario with no Tyrese Halliburton, no Miles Turner, did not win. And now they were faced with that familiar foe of, hey, you're supposed to win this game. You go from the hunted to the huntee. You go from the upcoming young team to the team that's supposed to go out there and dominate. And that is an absurd amount of pressure to put on this team. To put into perspective how much pressure was on this team, once they blew a 16-point lead and it got trimmed down to 2 at halftime, people were calling it an embarrassment. An embarrassment. That's what people were saying about this team, about this game. And the Thunder end up winning, covering the spread, and winning by 16 points. Right back up to that margin that you like to see. But it doesn't matter the point spread. It doesn't matter who played for Utah. What matters is how this Thunder team won. SGA was not his normal cyborg self. He was not his normal MVP caliber, all-NBA first-team caliber player. And that there was a lot of things to do with that. Utah defended him incredibly well. You got to give them credit. Defended him really well with that zone defense. It's It's a format that's given him some trouble because of his surroundings, whenever Miami has done it, and other teams as well. So credit to Utah. Also, SGA was just laboring a bit. Like, it looked like he was gassed or in pain or both, to the point where he just didn't have his normal energy sustained throughout this entire game, which is, understandable because he's dealing with so many different bruises and everything else. Plus, it's just a long season, and we've gotten to the end here for a high-usage player. And he was kind of inefficient for his standards, obviously, and wasn't efficient just period. And I think that that's a good thing that the Thunder, in a must-win game, did not win it because SGA just drug them along, because SGA just threw him on his back, and just climbed up the mountain for him. No, they helped SGA get to the finish line. And SGA still made incredible shots. SGA still made timely buckets. SGA still played really well. But it was not him alone dragging this Thunder team, which I think is important. And I think is a good thing in the long run. But the flow of this game was also great. You talk about experiences. Experiences in the postseason aren't just literally Wednesday in the play-in tournament. It's been this whole season where you play 45 clutch time games. It's been this whole season where you play games like this where your back's against the wall and any loss is going to end your season. You're going to play an elimination game tonight against Utah. You just played it and you won. You're going to play an elimination game on Sunday against Memphis. You're going to play an elimination game on Wednesday if you make it to the play-in tournament, and so on and so forth. These things add up. These things matter. And in a must-win game, OKC threw that first punch. They threw that first punch. They got up 16 points. And as we mentioned, Utah swung a haymaker right back and trimmed that lead to 2, tied the game. The Jazz grew a 3-point lead. And it's an embarrassment. It's all dwindling. It's all unraveling. It's all falling apart. What's going on? And then OKC takes that haymaker, stumbles back, and then rears back to throw a knockout punch and eventually swell their lead to 20 points. Empty the benches, light the victory cigars, go have a parade, and go celebrate. At the end of the day, the Thunder got what you wanted. Now, it was a weird path to get there. Starting out strong, Jazz coming back, Jazz making some runs. But at the end of the day, if I told you on Wednesday night, hey, tomorrow against the Jazz, the Thunder are going to win by 20 points, you'd be ecstatic. You'd be elated. You'd be incredibly happy, and your worries would subside. And that's what they did tonight. There were only 2 lead changes in this game. There were only 5 times that this game was tied. This Thunder team weathered the storm. This Thunder team was able to go out there and take care of business and respond to adversity, respond to the nature of just basketball, where it's a game of runs, and any given day in the NBA, you can get beat by anybody, no matter who they're playing and not playing, as we've seen not only this week, but throughout the last 2 years of Thunder basketball. We've seen that. The Thunder were a plus 10 on the glass. They had 17 offensive rebounds. They forced 19 turnovers, only gave the ball away 12 times. And uncharacteristically, it was the 3-ball that got going for OKC, because they didn't score in the paint but 46 points in the paint, and Utah scored 66 points in the paint. Uncharacteristically, the Thunder dominate second chance points, in the sense of, they won it 24-16, and they tied in fast break points. The Thunder shot 40, 33, and 80. Utah shot 49, 16, and 68. Free throws and three-pointers doomed Utah in this one. OKC had 7 in double figures and 1 more with 9 points. Utah had 5 in double figures in this game. And this was a great win for OKC. Again, Shai was not some otherworldly star. There was no controversial calls by the refs. There was some adversity to fight through. Like, it wasn't just a sprint to the end where you're up by 20 wire to wire. But overall, the Thunder communicated better defensively. They picked up guys at midcourt, heck, sometimes, pressing them. They scrapped, they clawed, they stayed inside of their own race, running their own race, and they won the game. There's no such thing as a bad win. All you do is survive and advance. And now the Thunder keep destiny in their own hands. If you go out there on Sunday at 2:30, you should pack the Paycom Center for this team. If you go out there on Sunday at 2:30 and beat the Grizzlies, you're in the dance. If the Mavericks lose one of these 2 games, Bulls, Spurs, you're in the dance. So, again, all the Thunder have to do is win, and they're in. And if the Mavericks lose tomorrow to the Bulls or lose Sunday to the Spurs, the Thunder are also in. And I think that it's great to reflect on the fact that this team, with all that's happened to them, you lose Chet Holmgren, you lose Kenny Hustle, who's a valuable piece. You've seen SGA in and out of the lineup with different injuries, even dating back to the start of the year, the first game of the year, and then COVID, and then abdominal strains, and back-to-backs, and everything else where you lost Shai. You've dealt with Lu Dort missing time. You've dealt with Pokusevski getting hurt, who was playing at a much better clip than we remember before his injury back in December. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl's twisted ankle. Like, you've dealt with so much for a season where many people predicted this to be a 20-ish win team. I mean, John Hollinger literally said 20 wins, 4 less than what they got last year. For that team that was projected to be in that range, to make us feel like this, where games on April 6th make us a glass case of emotion, where we're riding the highs and riding the lows and freaking out with every shot attempt, freaking out with every pass, freaking out with every second that falls off of that clock. For this team to achieve that is incredible. For this team to achieve that is a huge win in and of itself. Because you're kidding yourself if you thought that was a possibility back in October, with all that went wrong for OKC in the offseason, with Chet Holmgren getting hurt and everything else. To weather that storm shows you just how bright the future is for Oklahoma City. To weather all of that. And to be here today, in control of your own fate, and holding on to that 10th seed in the Western Conference. And by the time Friday ends, if the Bulls can pull off an upset, you'll have clinched a playoff berth. Despite all of that. That's impressive. That's impressive. So no matter what happens, if the Thunder do or don't play a game after Easter, this season was a wild success. And they've played games of consequences together. And they've clearly picked up on some lessons. Last week's Thunder team wouldn't have won this game. But they learned from those experiences, both good and bad. And that's why experiences are so important. And they're already compiling those experiences, so you might as well get one more next week. But it doesn't matter what Dallas does. Go beat Memphis on Sunday. Go pack the Paycom Center to support this team in a weird matinee start where, anyone is gettable in a matinee start, as you saw with the Suns a couple weeks ago. Plus, if the Grizzlies lock up their seeding, they'll rest players, whatever. Bottom line is, as you did tonight, go handle your own business on Sunday. And they deserve all of your support on Sunday. I know it's going to be a weird start time. I know it's complicated with everything going on Sunday. But if you can, if you're able, go pack the Paycom Center for this team. I promise it will be a fun time. Coming up, we'll talk about Aaron Wiggins. We'll talk about SGA and the rest of this team. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at the Nissan Aria, folks. Nissan Aria, go over there right now to nissanusa.com to shop now. The Nissan's most electric player of the week is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Aria. Folks, it's clear who the player of the week is. It's not SGA. It's not Josh Giddey. It's not Jaylin Williams, either one of them. Aaron Wiggins is the Nissan Aria player of the week for that performance on Thursday. I mean, he was just brilliantly fierce. He was electric in this game, playing the passing lanes. He was doing it all. And that's why he's our Nissan Aria player of the week. Because like the Nissan Aria, he was electric, brilliantly fierce, fiercely elegant, stunningly powerful. Go check it out today. It's the 2023 Nissan Ariya. It packs a pin-you-to-your-seat power with premium intelligence all in one EV. It's the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. The EV for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder Podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Subscribe for free across all podcasting platforms, including on YouTube, so you never miss an episode. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Styles, and go check out the Locked On NBA show for the national perspective on all of basketball. Let's talk Wiggins. Aaron Wiggins, 15 points, 3 steals, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 for 4 from the line, 1 for 4 from 3, 55% from the floor. He's your Nissan Ariya Player of the Week. He had great energy, effort, juice. He made that winning impact. He closed the game down the stretch over Lu Dort. And it's just time to stop the madness. Play Wiggins. Forget about reputation. Forget about the plan, the process. Forget about where any player was picked or what they're supposed to do or what they're supposed to be or who we think they are or who they might be. Play Wiggins. Play him. Play him 28 minutes like you did tonight. Play him 30 minutes. Play him over 30 minutes. Play him. You know, and play Dort too. I mean, this is an example of where Dort didn't play down the stretch, but like, in general, I don't care how you have to play Wiggins. Play Wiggins. I don't care who has to suffer to play Wiggins. Play Wiggins. And I do think that shoulder injury was bothering Lu Dort in this game. I think that cannot be downplayed. I think that it was a big part of the reason why he didn't play that much in this game, because he just could not perform with that shoulder injury. But this is a must-win game, so you have to give it a go. Like, you have to commend Lu Dort for trying to go in this game. But I've had to guess it was a lot of pain for him to play in this game with that shoulder injury. We have no idea what that means for Sunday. But again, that's all just a guess. But I do think it's worth mentioning before we just start piling on Lu Dort. But Wiggins, independent of Lu Dort, does deserve a ton of minutes because he just has a knack for making winning plays. He just has a knack for helping your team, for making big plays. He has a nose for the ball like a strong safety. The ability to just go play the passing lanes and read what the playmaker is going to do and go get steals, as he did in this one, with a couple of steals in this game. He is great at finishing at the rim, great in playing in transition, great on cutting. He helps you space the floor. And he even can keep the offense in a rhythm and a flow. The ball doesn't stick to him. When you talk about Aaron Wiggins, you describe the player that Oklahoma City is looking for. This model that the Thunder continue to tell us that they're looking for continues to be Aaron Wiggins. I don't care that he was picked 55th overall. I don't care that he started out as a two-way guy. He's a guy. He's a guy you should be playing. He's a guy that can help you win basketball games. It's a plus 19 in this one. Play Aaron Wiggins. And they did tonight. And I think that they revealed their hand of like, hey, when the going gets tough, when it's time to really buckle down and throw everything else out the window, and it's a must-win back against the wall game, this is a guy you got to get minutes for. This is a guy you got to play. And they did. To their credit, they did. They played him 28 minutes, and that is perfect. That's perfect. So I'm glad he played. I'm glad he made such a big impact, and I think that he'll continue to do so. I think that he is forcing the hand of Oklahoma City. He's forcing the hand to play him. He's forcing the hand to include him as part of this team moving forward, because he's on a contract where he has 2 more years under control, both of them making sub $2 million. And as you add pieces to this team, think about how valuable Wiggins is right now. Add back in a healthy Chet Holmgren. Add back in a healthy Kenny Hustle. Add back in a lottery pick this year that you would project to rank higher on the totem pole than Aaron Wiggins. Add in whatever you might do on the margins in the offseason, in free agency with all that cap space or on the trade market, if you even do anything at all. And Wiggins then moves down to your 8, 9, 10, 11th guy. And if that's the production you're getting from your 10th or 11th guy, and he's rightfully in that position just based upon everyone else making a leap and everyone else being ahead of him, that is insane value. That is absurd value. Wiggins is, I think, a part of the future, along with Isaiah Joe. They've gone from this cool story to they're invaluable. You can't replace them. There's not going to be an upgrade for these guys. Just out there waiting for you. Their minutes are going to change, right? Whenever Kenny's back, you're going to need to play him, and somebody has to get their minutes reduced. When Chet's back, you're going to play him. That's obvious. And so then you're going to shuffle around the minutes and in this positionless style that impacts everybody, even though he's a center. But they should still get minutes. They should still be in the rotation. They should still be making an impact. And for specifically this year, whether that lasts Sunday or beyond, he should play 30 minutes on Sunday. He should play 30 minutes on Wednesday if you're lucky enough to play on Wednesday. And then we worry about the rest of that stuff later. SGA, for his standards, struggled. 22 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, a steal, 7 for 10 at the line, 1 for 5 from 3, 36% from the floor. It's still a good night for the majority of NBA players. I thought that his willingness to shoot threes this week was eye-popping. He hasn't really taken threes this season. A very low clip for him. But stakes are rising. Got to get out of your comfort zone. Got to try to, expand your game, and he's taking threes now, which I like. But he had moments where he was harassing Jasmine. He was harassing Akai Baji and just making his life hard. And he had moments where he looked gassed and lacked energy. And I don't say that as an indictment, as in he didn't try. I mean, he looked like he physically just couldn't. Like he just physically just could not muster up anything because of how worn down he is. And so I think that these 2 days off are going to do wonders for him. And then if you do survive past Sunday, you get another 2 days off after that, which I think is great. And hopefully that allows him to bounce back. And then again, credit to the Jazz. That 1-3-1 was great at stopping the Thunder. And I think that had a lot to do with also the players around him. So I don't want this to come off as just because it's worked a couple of times in the zone against Shai, that Shai's the problem. It's hard to beat the zone without shooters. It's hard to beat the zone when the guys in the corners, are Dort and Giddey. No offense to them. It's just that they're not imposing, 3-point shooters to where you can even play more help on the zone. But as I said before, in a sense, it was good for OKC that SGA was not Superman. That SGA didn't, force this win in the sense of it was only because of Shai. And if you took Shai out of this game, they wouldn't have won. That's still probably true, right? He still scored 22 points, still was really good. But it was more of a complimentary style of win for OKC in this one, which can do wonders for the future and for this team moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, let's talk Josh Giddey, who was great at getting to the rim and being aggressive at the rim. But before we do that, let's talk FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOn, folks, is the #1 sportsbook in America. Check it out today. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. If you're new, that's great because you get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 and bonus bets if your first bet does not win. So go download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point spread, to three-pointers drained, to points scored. You can even combine bets in a same-game parlay for an even bigger payout at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. We can go there right now and find the odds for this pivotal Mavericks and Bulls game. The Mavericks are 9-point favorites tomorrow night. The Grizzlies are 6.5-point favorites on the road in Milwaukee. Here's what you're going to want to root for. Root for the Grizzlies. Root for the Bulls. And if both those things go down, you're smooth sailing. You're smooth sailing into next week. So that's what you're going to root for. You can even put some shekels on it for some fun over at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. We're back on the Locked On Thunder Podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. For your next listen, check out Locked On NBA. Let's talk Josh Giddey, who was really good, really aggressive at finishing at the rim. 17 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, 2 for 5 from 3, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, which is good to see him getting there 4 times in this game. 43% from the floor. Like, legitimately played really good. Was a really good communicator defensively also. Like, he's not going to get a ton of credit for his defense, but like, he was really good at putting guys in position and helping get reset on scrambles on the defensive end. The highlight of this game for him was this just absurd hook shot pass thing to Isaiah Joe, where he's directing Isaiah Joe with a head nod and with his eyes to create space for Isaiah Joe. That's the definition of a playmaker, of a shot creator in Josh Giddey. He understands where the open space is. Not only does he understand that, he understands where your open space is. Not only does he understand that, he understands how to get your attention and alert you to your open space, and then he knows how to find you and set you up in your open space, and then it's up to you to cash it in, which Isaiah Joe did for this amazing assist, part of his 8 total. Josh Giddey played a really, really, really good game in this one. He stepped up in the biggest game of the season. He stepped up in arguably Shai's worst game of the season to help him out, because there's been times where SGA has picked everyone else up. Like SGA has had games where he had to pick someone else up for them having a bad game. And so by SGA's standards, this was not a good game. And so it's good to see that the team picked him up and we're still able to weather the storm. Now, Shai still played good, but again, we understand his standard is so different, which is unfair to him, but it's true. Jay Will, I thought, played better than his box score showed again. Those 3 3-pointers were massive. 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a charge drawn, 11 points. Was really boxing out for positioning, which helped the Thunder clean up on the glass in a big way, even though they didn't directly go to him, except for the 6 of them that did. He created opportunities for others to go and get rebounds, which was huge for OKC against a much bigger Jazz team. I think that Jay Will plays a really good style. You saw him getting played as in that kind of zone buster role that Kenny Hustle was so good in at the nail whenever the Jazz went to his zone. He did well in that. One of his 2 assists came off of that whenever he fired it, a bounce pass to Lu Dort cutting to the rim. I thought that Jay Will played really well in this game. Isaiah Joe, 2 charges drawn for Isaiah Joe, so the Arkansas connection stays strong there. 11 points, 3 for 9 from 3, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 21 minutes plus 9. So 2 steals, 2 charges drawn. That's immediately 4 possessions that you just totally ended, much less all the good contests that he had. 3 for 9 from 3. You love to see that. Plus 9 in this game, quality defense, 21 minutes. Like, that is valuable performances off the bench. And it didn't stop there. Like, Dario Saric really got off the bench, was strong with 14 points, really helped OKC crack the code against the zone. This is a big thing, too, that I wanted to add at the top of the show. Forgot to say it. Not only did the Thunder take the punches in this game, they adapted in this game. Like, the zone was killing Oklahoma City in the first half. That's how the Jazz made their run to close the half. It was murdering OKC. Same game, same team, same zone. Second half, flip of the switch. OKC beats it. They adjust. They get the win. Saric played a role in that. He deserves credit for that as well. 2 for 4 from deep in this one. Double-double for Saric off the bench. And Lindy Waters. Way to step up, kid. I mean, 10 points, 3 rebounds, and assists, 2 for 5 from 3, plus 16 in 15 minutes. He played actually, a key role off the pine for OKC. And then J-Dub, relatively quiet game by his standards, obviously, but a great poster to cap off the night. So the MVP of this game has to go to Aaron Wiggins, but what a win it was for Oklahoma City. What a game it was for the Thunder as the Thunder take care of business. Again, today, you're going to want to root for 2 things. Bulls, please beat the Mavericks. Grizzlies, take care of the Bucks. If one of those things happen, you're in good shape. Because if the Bulls beat the Mavericks, it's over. Like, the race is over. It's clinched. Playoffs are set. In the Western Conference, the Thunder are in. Because at that point, the best the Mavs could do is 1-1. The worst OKC could do is 1-1. And the Thunder hold the tiebreaker. If the Grizzlies beat the Bucks, that clinches the Grizzlies into the second seed in the West, and in all likelihood would mean that they would rest some players on Sunday. Here's the kicker with that, though, and why that's less important than Chicago. Obviously, that would help if the Grizzlies would rest Ja and rest their stars, but the Grizzlies' second unit is not a normal second unit. Like, that's still a really good team that you're gonna have to tango with on Sunday in the afternoon in the Paycom Center. Should still beat them, but still a better than average second unit for Memphis. And as we said, Bulls winning is huge because it just automatically clinches a playoff spot for OKC, which is great after a 2-season absence. That's all it's been, folks. 2 seasons without the playoffs, and it might be here again. We got a lot of shows coming up for you 5 days a week, and after every single game, we'll be back. If the Bulls win tomorrow, or today at this point, if the Bulls win and beat Dallas, we have to do an emergency podcast. We just have to. And then we'll be back, of course, after the Memphis game and to preview the postseason and all that fun stuff that we have planned as a network. But even if they don't win, we might have an emergency podcast just to set the table for Sunday. Who knows? But make sure you stay tuned. Subscribe across all podcasting platforms so you never miss an episode, including on YouTube, including on all your podcasting podcatchers feeds like Apple Podcast, like Spotify, like Google Play. And follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Styles. It's at RYLAN_STILES. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.